tell you more about the second language motivations. Please watching this video, and then I hope you can get the benefits by watching this video. Alright, for not waste the time, we start from the beginning. What is the definition of second language? Okay, in here I want to tell you second language is refers about the study of individuals and groups who are learning a language. After that, they learn their first one as young children and the process of learning that language. So the basic knowledge that we must know, human have a basic language, like we can say the mother language, and then when the humans lives in their environment, they will know and they will know more about the other language. We can say that the second language, human have a mother language and the second language, because many people decide to use the second language. Mother language is their basic language, but the second language is their choice to decide for choose it. For learning more about the second language, we can try to understand the process of second language is. There's many questions about these materials, like how does the learners acquire the knowledge, and then why are some learners more or less successful than the others. These basic questions also we find when we find the new learners to learn a second language. The answer is, of course, there is no simple answer to these questions, because second language is a very complex process. Second language has been studied in different fields of research, from linguistics to psychology, to try find an answer to the questions, but there is still debate about them. So we can try to discuss. The second language can be defined as the official dominant language needed for the education, employment, and other basic purposes. It is often acquired by minority group members or immigrants who speak another language as a native speakers. Okay, the definitions of motivations. So the motivation is considered as an integral part in the achievement of any goal. It is an important factor that has a positive influences in any educational learning process, especially in learning second language. Motivations. So the motivation is more than simply encouraging interesting. It also involves sustaining interest and investing time and energy into putting the necessary effort to achieve certain goals. In my opinion, the motivation is an encouragement that exists within a person that make a person more eager to do something according to one's own goals. In terms of learning English, the motivations, in my opinion, is the patience or stimulant that exists in studies so that students more eager to learn English. There are many types of motivations. According to us, Gardner, motivation is a very complex phenomenon within many factors. Intrinsic and extrinsic types of motivation has been widely studied, and the distinctions between them has an important light on both developmental and educational practices. There are types of motivations. Intrinsic and intrinsic motivations. According to Ryan, in proportion to this theory, the most fundamental differences is between intrinsic motivations and extrinsic motivations. There are many factors that promote intrinsic motivations. Some of these include challenges, curiosity, control, fantasy, competitions, cooperations, and recognitions. There are many factors that promote intrinsic motivations. The first is challenge. Challenge is a factor that means a person is more likely to be motivated if the task involves activities that include continuously intermediate or escalating levels of difficulty towards personally meaningful goals. Curiosity is a force in a person The second is curiosity. Curiosity is a force in a personal environment that either gets his attention for new knowledge skills or presents insecurity between his present knowledge skills and the possible knowledge skills that the activity may offer. The third is control. Control is a factor that means humans' nature for a person to want to have some degree of control over his situations. Intrinsic motivations may emerge from a person's autonomy in his actions. The fourth is a fantasy. Fantasy is a factor that is in the form of mental images that stimulate a person to behave to achieve the fantasy. For instance, a student sees himself as a successful engineer after college. And the last is competitions. Competition is a factor that involves comparison of a person's performance with other performance. We also can set the comparisons. Comparison is one of the factors that involves achieving a sense of satisfaction when a person helps other people towards the fulfillment of their goals. And then the last is recognitions. Recognitions is a factor that also includes the sense of satisfaction when others appreciate their achievements. There are many there are many factors of intrinsic motivation. So we move to the extrinsic motivations. According to Fantaskittel, Lenz and Deci, extrinsic motivations, on the other hand, is the propensity to take part in activities because of the reasons which do not link to the activity. These reasons can be the anticipations of reward or punishments, like being successful in the exams or getting a good mark. To come to the point, intrinsic motivation is a motivation to do an activity because of itself. In fact, the individuals who are intrinsically motivated do and practice the activities and work because they feel that those activities are enjoyable. Extrinsic motivations can, the other hand, is motivations to do a work and activity as a means or way to achieve a target. Extrinsic motivations who are extrinsically motivated perform do affairs as they think that their contributions will cause enviable results like a reward, teacher admirations, or evasions of punishments. And then, so the motivations descriptions, we have two types motivations. The first is intrinsic motivations, that we can say intrinsic motivation is enjoyment of learning self. And then the second motivation is extrinsic factor motivations, that extrinsic motivation is driven by external factors such as parental pressures, societal expectations, and academic requirements, or the other sources of reward as a punishment. We next to motivations in language learning. So the motivation is a basic and essential part of learning. Gardner believes that with the intentions of being motivated, the learner necessarily requires and needs to have something to anticipate, force, expect, and long for a reasons, principle, or national having to do with aim to or target. And according to Cook, the performance and presentations of a number of learners in context of second foreign language learning is improved and superior than others. The reason is that they are better motivated. Motivations is language learning plays a vital role. It is motivation that produces effective second language communicator by planting in them the seeds of self-confidence. It also successfully creates learners who continuously engage themselves in learning even after they complete a target goal. According to Daichi, Kasar, and Ryan, the relationship between students and school is an interactive one that can be synergistic, both positive and negative. Students influence the motivations and behavior of school as school affects students. But it's important to remember that part of teaching tasks is to encourage students who facilitate positive cycles rather than negative cycles. In order for English instructors to motivate them, a number of methods are needed both in outside of class. There are six factors influencing motivation in language learning in students. Like the first is attitudes, beliefs about self, goals, informant, environmental support, and personal attributes. We move to the attitudes. The first factors to motivations in learning language. So the first is attitude. An attitude is a relatively enduring organization of belief around an object or situations, predisposing one to respond in some preferential manner. If the students enter to the class with fairly neutral attitudes about the language, or even positive ones, and has a personality structures which will permit him to have an openness and willingness to perceive and respond, his attitudes about language and language learning will be strongly influenced by the situations itself. The second is beliefs about yourself. Expectations about one's attitude is success, self-efficacy, and anxiety. The third is goals. Perceive clarity and relevance of learning goals as reason for learning. And the fourth is involvement. Involvement extends to which the learners actively and concisely participate in the language learning process. And then environmental support. Extents of the teacher support and integrations of cultural and outside of class support in learning experience. The last is personal attributes. The attitude aids such and previous language learning experience. It's according to Hussein et al. In 2001. And we must know the importance of motivations in learning language. So in my opinion, the motivation is the desire of more than students to learn English, such as encouragement of students to be more courageous and the spirit of learning English, and an important part in learning the language itself. Motivation as well as a basic of learning language to be called successful in learning English. Motivations can also develop interest, willingness, and talent of the students to learn English, so that students can easily learn English by giving a motivations. So we can know the benefit of motivations. There can be other various factors which can have significant. So the benefit of motivations, there can be other various factors which can have significant role in creating motivations for language learners. There is, for instances, some of the main points that concerning this matter appear to researchers' mind are as follows. The benefit of motivation is the language teacher is supposed to teach and instruct according to each learner's levels, in the sense that initially the teacher should identify and realize each student placement afterwards. And then the second is language learners should not be reproached or blamed or even scorned for not doing his homework, for making mistakes in pronunciation. It's okay, or for hesitate to answer questions and so on. Teachers should identify, perceive, and understand the language learners' social, cultural, economic, and sentimental futures and backgrounds in order to be able to help them, and so that the language learners have a clear image from themselves to respect their own characters. Teachers should be kind to the language learner and loving them while being friends with them. This matter is important and essential, especially in the initial and primary levels of learning, that the language learners are susceptible, vulnerable, and sensitive. They need love and affections from their teachers. Teachers should admire, respect, and value the students' differences, and they should never contrast the language learner with one another. Teachers need to promote students' alertness, knowledge, inquisitiveness, and curiosity in language classes, as well as trying to uphold and preserve their motivations. And the last is teachers should bear in mind that learning a second or a foreign language means that learners should also exploit and take advantage of social proficiencies and not just learn grammar rules. So in my opinion, the motivation is the essence of language learning in which the teacher has a role in creating the motivations that exist in the learner's own language. By understanding all the aspects that exist in the student himself and afterwards determining how to create the motivations of herself, the students feel comfortable and easy to learn the language. Okay guys, so that's all about my explanations about second language motivation learners for our students. I hope you can understand what I have said before about the second language motivations, and I hope this video is can help you to know what is second language means and second language motivations benefits. Okay guys, thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you in next video. Bye bye.